Rain soaked the cracked sidewalk as Rebecca balanced a stack of food deliveries in one hand and checked the notification flashing across her phone with the other. Another warning from her manager appeared in bold letters, reminding her that one more late delivery would cost her the only job keeping a roof over her little son's head. Just a few steps away, an elderly homeless man sat trembling beneath a broken bus shelter, staring silently at the warm meal in Rebecca's insulated bag with tired, defeated eyes. In moments like these, life asks impossible questions. If your own child was waiting for you at home, and your job was hanging by a thread, would you risk everything for a stranger who had nothing left? Sometimes the smallest choice becomes the one that changes every life forever. Rebecca had never imagined becoming a delivery driver at 32. Only 2 years earlier she had been raising her son, Noah, alongside her husband until a tragic highway accident took him away forever. Overnight, grief became unpaid bills, eviction notices, and endless exhaustion. She worked from sunrise until long after dark, accepting every delivery she could find, often skipping meals so Noah could eat enough before school. Her boss, a ruthless franchise manager named Matthew, cared about numbers, customer ratings, and delivery times far more than the people working beneath him. Employees were treated like machines, and every delay came with threats of termination. Rebecca lived with constant fear that one mistake would destroy the fragile life she had rebuilt. That rainy evening the order she carried was the last one before she could finally go home. Her stomach had been empty since breakfast, and the smell of grilled chicken and fresh bread made her feel dizzy. As she hurried toward her car, the old homeless man quietly lowered his head, trying not to stare at the food he clearly hadn't tasted in days. His clothes were soaked, his hands shook from cold, and his face carried the kind of loneliness that only years of being ignored could create. Rebecca slowed without thinking. She looked at the address on her phone, then back at the old man. She knew the customer would complain if the meal never arrived. She knew Matthew would almost certainly fire her. Yet she also knew that some kinds of hunger couldn't wait another hour. Without expecting anything in return, Rebecca handed the entire meal to the old man. She apologized softly to the customer through the app, accepted the penalty, and watched tears quietly fill the stranger's eyes as he accepted the food with trembling hands. He didn't eat immediately. Instead, he looked at Rebecca with overwhelming gratitude, as though someone had finally remembered he was still human. She drove away hungry, frightened, and almost certain she had just sacrificed the only income her family had left. The next morning confirmed her fears. Matthew called her into the office before she even clocked in. Without listening to her explanation, he accused her of theft, incompetence, and damaging the company's reputation. In front of other employees he humiliated her, mocked her kindness, and fired her on the spot. Rebecca tried to explain that a starving man needed help more than a disappointed customer needed another meal, but Matthew laughed and told her compassion had no place in business. Carrying a small cardboard box filled with her belongings, Rebecca walked out fighting tears, wondering how she would tell Noah they might soon lose their apartment. That same afternoon, an unusual convoy of black vehicles stopped outside the restaurant. Employees stared through the windows as several professionally dressed executives stepped inside. Leading them was an elderly gentleman wearing an elegant navy suit, standing straight with quiet confidence. No one recognized him at first. His clean haircut and polished appearance looked nothing like the frail homeless man from the previous evening. But Rebecca immediately froze when she saw his familiar eyes. His name was Samuel, and years earlier he had built one of the nation's largest restaurant investment groups before stepping away from public life after losing his wife and daughter in separate tragedies. Crushed by grief, he had spent months living anonymously across different cities, believing people only respected wealth instead of character. He wanted to discover whether kindness still existed when there was nothing to gain. Countless people had ignored him. Others had insulted him. Some had even stolen from him. Rebecca had been the first person to sacrifice something valuable simply because another human being was suffering. Samuel was not merely a customer. He was the majority shareholder of the restaurant chain that employed Matthew. After reviewing security footage, customer records, and employee reports, Samuel learned exactly how Rebecca had been treated. He also uncovered years of complaints involving Matthew's abusive management, intimidation of workers, unpaid overtime, and unethical practices hidden beneath impressive financial numbers. Rebecca's dismissal became the final piece that revealed a much larger pattern. Within hours, corporate investigators arrived. Matthew confidently assumed another inspection would end like every previous one, but this time every document, security recording, and employee testimony was carefully examined. Workers who had remained silent for years finally found the courage to speak. They described impossible schedules, public humiliation, and constant threats. Samuel listened quietly to every story, remembering the woman who had chosen compassion instead of convenience while everyone else had walked past him. By evening Matthew was escorted from the building carrying his own cardboard box. His employment was terminated immediately, pending further legal investigation into company violations. The same office where he had destroyed so many people's confidence became the place where his own arrogance finally caught up with him. Employees watched in stunned silence as justice unfolded, proving that power built on cruelty never lasts forever. Rebecca expected nothing more than an apology, but Samuel had something far greater in mind. He personally offered her a new position overseeing community outreach programs across several restaurant locations, creating partnerships that donated unsold meals to shelters instead of wasting food. Her salary nearly doubled, flexible hours allowed more time with Noah, and she was encouraged to build a culture where kindness mattered as much as profit. For the first time since losing her husband, Rebecca felt hope replacing fear. Months later, Noah proudly helped his mother deliver warm dinners to struggling families every weekend. The little boy never forgot watching his mother choose generosity on the day they themselves had almost nothing. Samuel often visited quietly, smiling as children laughed around tables filled with food that would once have been thrown away. One simple act of compassion had grown into thousands of meals, countless second chances, and a workplace transformed by empathy instead of fear. Before this story ends, tell us in the comments, if you had been in Rebecca's place, would you have given away that last meal even if it meant losing your job? As Rebecca watched Noah hug Samuel like the grandfather he never had, she finally understood that kindness is never truly lost. Sometimes it disappears into the darkness only to return when hope seems impossible, carrying blessings no one could have imagined. If this story touched your heart, please like, comment, share, and subscribe so more people can be reminded that one act of compassion can change countless lives.